Let's go. Sean.
All right.
Where are we?
We're at
the same Orlando where we were before.
We are in Venice, Florida. No.
Italy.
Italy.
Venice,
No.
Italy.
California. No.
Venice,
No.
California.
This is Orlando, and
right,
more
we'll go with
precisely, we're here because there is a great event that we
Zero
were
Trust
running
World.
in so many people we already met before.
I know.
Somebody
And
that we
meeting
just
cool
met.
people.
Avi, how are you
Yes.
doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Very good.
We've
And we're
already had a
here.
great conversation.
I know.
We should have recorded it.
I know.
If only somebody had the equipment.
Running. You never know. You never know.
Yeah, it's all good.
Anyway, Zero
I
Trust
suspect we'll have
World.
you back and maybe pick up some of those other chats. as
Well,
but,
so this is my second Zero Trust World. I was
Okay.
here last year also. Last year was my first, and that was kind of fun for me because I had not yet seen the product other than in a sales demo.
Okay.
But I had studied extensively through their university, did their entire university program, went to their boot camp prep, and sat the exam, and had the highest score of the entire conference last year.
Wow.
So that was a lot of fun. So this year
You
I
got the conference free?
So I got the conference free. I also got the conference free anyway because they like me. So I'm a likable guy.
There you go.
So
It's good to be likable.
so I mean I try. Not everybody maybe feels that way, but most anyway. So this year the difference with sitting the exam was I didn't do any of the studying, but I have been elbows deep in the product every single day across all of the different components of it, working in all the different modules. I did that in the boot camp. I passed, but I didn't do as well as I did last year, which just goes to show that you really need to do their education piece in order to really round out your knowledge, because some stuff you're not going to know just by walking into the exam.
Right.
I did, however, score the record for the fastest pass in this one. So it's an hour-long test. I did it in 19 minutes.
Wow.
And so I got the first challenge
Should have done it
coin.
3 times.
Yeah, so I had enough time. So I got the challenge coin for passing. So I went to Danny, the CEO, and I got him to autograph it for me.
Very nice.
The
Danny's a
first
good guy.
challenge coin. So yeah, he's,
like
you know what? He's a super nice guy. And
Yeah,
frankly,
Danny's awesome.
everybody on the ThreatLocker team, everybody I've spoken to, everybody, they are warm, caring people. And it's one of the reasons why I very seriously considered buying the product, is because when you buy something, when you buy a solution, you're not only buying the product, you're buying the people behind it. And if they can't be trustworthy, if they aren't nice to work with, it's a problem. So here I am a year later, and they asked me if I would be on a panel at the conference. So I'm
They
like,
like you that much.
I mean, again, I'm a likable guy. So they asked me to be on the panel. So the panel we're doing is an AI panel.
Right.
And I know you wanted me to touch base a little bit on it. Did you have a particular question, or?
Well, we'll hold on now.
All right,
We'll hold on.
all right.
Well, yeah, I think people here can watch that panel online as well. And if we're not going to produce this before it, but we'll probably touch on AI. I want to go back to what you mentioned first when we were talking about what are we going to talk about, kind of the basics. Looking at this space for a long time, we just had Dr. Chase Cunningham on, who's been involved with Zero Trust for a long time. The definition of what it is, where you start, how you progress, what your journey looks like. As a big organization, you have to be mature. There's all this stuff that was kind of nebulous in the beginning. And what you described to me was, forget what's totally possible, let's start with the basics. So can you tell us about your journey starting with, well, ThreatLocker, and I presume your Zero Trust?
Yeah,
journey
so
at that point?
so I'm the CIO for a law firm, and I've got nearly 30 years in the IT world, 17 in a director C-level position at a firm. I was also an outside consultant and integrator for a number of years. My original background is very technical engineering, Cisco, Windows, servers, all of that. And over the years, I've moved more and more into the security space. I'm CISSP certified through IC². I spend a lot of time on the security side of it. And more, I've found that the challenge is around keeping the bad guys out. And while it's very common to have different EDRs, endpoint pieces, I have a particular EDR product, but I've always felt like the EDR solution is really kind of a reactive. So you know, somebody gets their foot in the door, they do something, so they've already done something, and now you're sort of relying on the EDR to pick up on that and react and respond. And I've always felt like that's already a step late. We should be doing something preventive in addition to reactive. So I didn't get rid of my EDR product, but I always felt like I needed to add a solution that was going to be proactive and preventative. And so here I come across ThreatLocker and I see it years ago, and I was kind of waiting for its maturity level to hit a certain point that I felt comfortable with as far as things like network control and storage control, the application component. I mean, there are a lot of pieces that they've been adding to it. Now they've got the cloud stuff integrated. So it's really been maturing nicely. So a year ago, I finally made the decision. I actually retired another product in order to make the space in my budget to bring their product in. And I brought it in, and honestly, it's one of the best moves I've ever made. What it does is it adds an entire preventive layer so that before you even have a chance to get a foothold, you're being stopped. Now, my EDR sometimes will pick up on stuff before ThreatLocker will because it's executing in memory. It's just a pattern of where things are running. But ultimately, ThreatLocker stops it before it has a chance, and if it's something that does have a chance, then my EDR is sort of like my secondary insurance policy, if you will. But that was sort of my journey with zero. I mean, zero trust. It's been kind of nebulous for years what exactly it means and how many. Like, there's zero trust like on the network. There's like all these areas of the stack, the PCs. If you have like BYOD devices, like it's never ending. You know, so that was sort of my journey into, and what brought me to ThreatLocker was this proactive, preventive measure that I felt was necessary. It's kind of like, before you worry about having a seatbelt on, which is great, like maybe don't be doing 130 miles an hour down the highway. like behave first, and then the seatbelt's your insurance policy.
Here I have a question for you, because we're talking a lot here about zero trust as a culture. So it's not the piece of technology, it's kind of like viewing your business, your security, your world, your team trained in a certain way. And I feel like what you said kind of connect with it, in the meaning that you already knew what you needed, and then you found the product that was matching kind of what your vision, your culture you had. So in a way, it's kind of like, yes, technology is not the solution, but when you already have that mindset and you find the right technology, it helps to implement it.
And zero trust is really like, it's a goal. It's a dream, right?
It's an ideal almost,
it's an ideal, right? So I mean, you can't have true zero, right? I mean, at some point you have to run applications.
You have to do something. You
have to work, right? I mean, like, we're not all just sitting around looking pretty in front of computer screens.
Hey, we got no problem. We're doing nothing.
So we've got to get as close to zero as we possibly can, and the way you do that is by standing up enough components, strategic sort of solutions to get you as close to zero as you can. So I don't know, I mean, I hate to say it to some extent, but was I really looking for zero? Probably not, but I'm looking for near zero, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll coin a new term, near zero trust, NZT. But that's our goal, right?
I like it though.
Thanks. That's our goal. That's what we want to try to get to. So how do we get to that? And because users are going to use the computer, because they're going to have to be able to do things, we need to have the solutions in place to prevent the things that we didn't see coming. It's I don't know. It's like your house has locks and you have bars and all these other solutions to secure it. But at the end of the day, if you're going to allow people to go in and out, you're going to have a pathway to get in and out of that door. So now you've got to worry about securing it and whatever. So.
It's like a cash register.
Well, an antique cash register anyway. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to do it.
Yeah, no. Well, the antique cash register, that's all about multi-factor authentication, not necessarily zero trust. But I got to be honest with you, I never really thought about it before, but now you got me thinking about it. There is sort of a zero trust aspect to it, because ultimately what happened was, and actually why cash registers were invented in the 1870s, was actually because it was actually created by a guy who owned a bar, and he couldn't trust the people who worked there to manage the money properly and to not kind of slip a little extra off the top. And so what this did,
right? Oh no, just me.
It's just moving right along. So what he did was he invented this box to track the amount, and then at the end of the day, he was able to look at totals. There was like a paper trail, so he could see what was going in, what was going out. He would know based on his supply, what he should have expected in the cash register. So, I mean,
It is zero trust.
It is a zero trust. I mean, that's what happened. He lost trust in the people that worked for him, and so he invented a zero trust box. That's what I'm going to call
Still
it from now on.
functional to run the business in a smooth way. It wasn't like
Correct.
an impediment for
Well,
the business.
and in every iteration, they added more and more functionality to track how many purchases were made, how much each amount was per purchase, how many for the day, how many customers they had. So they're tracking all these different things in order at the end of the day that the proprietor can then look at the stats on it and say, this makes sense, or somebody's stealing from me. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it is almost the perfect zero trust. I didn't realize that, but now I have a whole new angle to this. This
You're
is
welcome.
I loved it.
You're welcome.
I appreciate this.
Well,
I appreciate this.
I think Marco invited you. I'm going to invite myself to have that chat about the cash register. I want to. We don't have all day. I think we could chat all day.
I
It seems
certainly
like it.
could.
So maybe you'll agree to come back and for a deeper dive. But
Sure.
One thing I want to wrap. Maybe Marco has something to close with. But did you have an assumption or an understanding that was changed once you started working with ThreatLocker? Like, it's going to be difficult. I'll just make something.
So I'll tell you right off the
go for
bat. So I hear where you're going with it,
Yep.
and there was a major, fundamental change in understanding when I looked at the ThreatLocker product. The idea of whitelisting applications for permission is not original to ThreatLocker. Microsoft had a product years ago to try to do it, and the problem was there was no easy way to implement that product.
Exception management, right? You're pulling your hair out all the time.
It was impossible to deal with. It was such a manual process, and you couldn't stay on top of it in a world that was dynamically changing. Apps are changing, updates are changing, security's changing, and we're going back years. And so the idea has been out there. The fundamental difference that made me see the ThreatLocker piece and say, oh my God, they figured this out, was the ease of implementation. The fact that I was able to put it into, and I'm a shining example. I'm very conservative in my approach of how it affects things. We put it into our environment in April of 24, and I was told you can just run it for a little bit and you'll be fine. I don't really buy that. I ran it for 2 months. I wanted it to really see everything everybody does. And then I slowly started bringing a few workstations into a secure mode, and I wasn't getting any pushback, and I literally went, you know what? Let's just flip the switch. And I went full hog on that thing, and I just enabled it and kind of stood back and waited to see who would scream. 0 screams.
No partners? No partners yet?
0 screams. Nobody had an issue with it because it had learned the processes so well. Now, the ongoing requires some effort, you got to learn, and there's all that, right? There's no question. But the fact is, they figured out how to make it deploy easily. And in an enterprise, that is very important and non-disruptively.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I deployed it and I took us from a more risky posture to a much less risky posture with nearly no, I mean, I wouldn't say no effort. There was work in, the setup of it, but certainly without any challenges to the environment, any interruption, any loss of workflow and time and energy. That was the fundamental, like, I almost wouldn't have believed it could have been done because I had believed in the idea of whitelisting for a while, but I couldn't figure out how to pull that off. ThreatLocker figured out how to pull it off, and once I understood it, I was sold. It was amazing. It was an amazing methodology.
And you know what? We have a new headline: Zero Trust, Zero Screams.
Zero trust.
Hey, ThreatLocker,
I don't know,
you can use it. You can use it.
I screamed like a happy child when I deployed it.
Nice one.
Yeah, but you said you didn't hear many screams. So
Not from others.
That's a good thing. But anyway, Avi, we could talk forever. I agree with
I'm gonna have you
Sean.
back.
Well, and feel free
I'm
and
gonna wrestle you
and
to
feel
be back on the show.
so you don't have to. I love it. It's my pleasure. Feel free. You can even randomize the topics. Just drag me in for one and be like, the Holy Roman Empire was neither holy nor Roman.
For, my friend. No, but I'm
So-
serious. Great conversation.
Excellent,
I love that there's a CIO looking after security and a law firm takes this stuff seriously. and was successful in an implementation.
Yeah, thank you. That's how I
You
see
don't
it.
hear all this story a lot. So.
No,
Very
I'm actually surprised that there aren't more just chomping at the bit to be able to do it. I mean, they will when I'm done talking to them.
There you go. We're gonna follow your
There you
trail.
go. This is for you, Avi, Sean, me, Marco, ITSP Magazine from Orlando, Florida for Zero Trust 2025. And stay tuned. There'll be more on location with Sean and Marco and Avi maybe another
And
time.
maybe if it's at another location,
we'll
I'll join
keep
you
you
there
here.
too.
We'll
If you
keep
want,
you
I'll let you guys know where I'm traveling. We
Oh,
can
yeah.
go
We'll
together.
just follow you around.
We can do that. You
It's
guys
easy.
stay there. We'll be back.
You follow us on it.
See ya.